number of people going to church. Perhaps they're not finding what they're looking for, and they're looking for something a bit deeper, a bit more truthful, a bit more akin to Britain's Christian heritage.
That's right, get ready, because the most exciting night in general election history starts now!
Good evening, everybody. It's 9 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong. Tonight. Islamist hate takes over London once again. It comes as a Hezbollah martyr merchandise was being sold at an Islamic centre in London.
These rumours about him being a dictator have no value at all.
And people take to the streets defending Iran's Ayatollah, who's reported, of course, of murdering thousands of protesters in Iran. Also tonight.
Listen, baby, ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low, ain't no river wide enough, baby.
Sorry, I think my ears are bleeding. Did you know also that Green Party leader Zach Polanski once made a movie? It's true, it's really real. I've got some clips of it and I'll be finding out why he thinks drugs are racist too. And...
Calling the police! Call the police!
Lawless London even strikes the quiet, leafy borough of Richmond. Is our capital just not safe anymore?
The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Now they're really bleeding. Taxpayers could be forced to cough up £500 million a year for new net zero levies. Reform's Andrea Jenkins will be joining me live. Plus, clergymen are being forced to sermon on anti-racism in order to secure diversity funding. It's hundreds of thousands of pounds. I'm going to bring you that crazy story and all the details. And joining me tonight, businessman and activist Adam Brooks, former Conservative MP Anna Firth, and former special advisor and columnist Paul Richards. And this is crazy. Have a listen to this.
They want to find me good. They want to ban me good. Do it! Have a look at yourselves, every single goddamn one of you.
Yeah, we've got a massive 2 hours coming up. Your Sunday evening is just getting started, but Bethany Elsey is going to give you the news first.
Alex, thank you. Good evening. Your top stories at 9:02. The latest release of documents from the so-called Epstein files have revealed Lord Mandelson received payments totalling $75,000 when he was a Labour MP. One bank statement shows $25,000 was sent to his then partner, now husband, in 2003. Two further payments of the same amount were made in the year after to Peter Mandelson himself. The peer, who was sacked as US ambassador last year because of his links to the convicted paedophile, says he doesn't remember the payments and has questioned the authenticity of the documents. Donald Trump and Iran's top security official have held talks at the Pentagon to try and negotiate a deal and avoid military strikes. Trump says Iran should agree not to have any nuclear weapons, but Tehran insists its ballistic missiles and defence capabilities should not be on the agenda. Washington has deployed a naval aircraft carrier off Iran's shore following a deadly crackdown on anti-government protests, which killed thousands of people. Iran's supreme leader warned a US attack on the country would spark a regional war, but the US president says he's hopeful they'll come to an agreement.
We have the biggest, most powerful ships in the world over there, very close, a couple of days, and hopefully we'll make a deal. If we don't make a deal, then we'll find out whether or not he was right.
Officials in Ukraine say at least 12 people have been killed and 7 injured after a Russian drone strike hit a bus carrying mine workers. Earlier, strikes also hit a maternity hospital and residential building, injuring 9 people. The attacks came just hours after President Volodymyr Zelensky announced a second round of US-led peace talks between the two countries are set to take place in Abu Dhabi this week. The Rafah border crossing between Gaza and Egypt has reopened for the first time in 18 months. Aid trucks and ambulances have been seen lining up on the Egyptian side of the crossing this morning. Israel is allowing a limited number of people through, but not humanitarian supplies. It's part of President Trump's plan to end the war, which includes Hamas disarmament, further Israeli withdrawal from Gaza, and the deployment of an international peacekeeping force. And it's the battle of the rappers at this year's Grammys as Bad Bunny and Kendrick Lamar go head-to-head for Album of the Year. If the Puerto Rican wins, they would make history as the first Spanish winner. 14-time Grammy-winning star Lady Gaga is nominated for 7 awards, including Record of the Year with Abracadabra. British acts Olivia Dean and Lola Young are in the running for the coveted Best New Artist, and Cynthia Erivo is one of the top nominated Brits, with special recognition for the Wicked soundtrack. You're up to date. I'll have more for you at 10 o'clock.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show. And let's talk about leader of the Green Party, Zach Polanski.
Listen, baby, ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low, ain't no river wide enough, baby.
If you need me, call me, no matter where you are, no matter how far.
Don't worry, baby.
Well, it seems he's tried to get famous many times, including making his own movie, which I doubt you've ever seen any clips of ever before. A movie about people drinking milk and vomiting.
Look at this. It's a Van Damme spoof.
Well, I'm not going to show you the vomiting clips because obviously, it's a Sunday evening. You don't need to see that. But vomiting is something I regularly feel the need to do after a Green Party press conference, I have to admit. Polanski was also a Harley Street hypnotist, but now at least he's finally got what he wanted as a Z-list celebrity status as the leader of the wacky Green Party that ironically doesn't seem to talk about green issues very often anymore. Of course, his past doesn't really matter. He is who he is today, and it's really no no reflection of who he is as a party leader. But in more recent news, particularly today, Zach Polanski has said he wants rent controls.
How would you actually make it work then? Because as you say, there's lots of places. If you look in the Netherlands, they've had severe rental shortages, which is often said to be as a result of controls on rent. Sweden's got extremely long waiting lists for rental properties, some of as long as 10 years, and there's been an increase in black market rental there. So what model are you looking at?
Well, the first thing is I think the mayors need to be given the powers for rent controls. Now, I sit as an elected member of the London Assembly, and Sadiq Khan, as London mayor, was calling for rent controls. But he said when we had a Labour government and a Labour mayor, that would be the difference this country needed. I don't know if people have noticed there hasn't been much difference, and where there has, things have got worse.
That's not an answer, is it? That is a deflection. And it's not surprising why he can't answer why rent controls haven't worked anywhere, because there aren't any cities where it has worked. They've actually just made people poorer and actually reduced the amount of rents available for people. He's also said he wants to legalise all drugs and alcohol, partly because it's a little bit racist.
Well, the Prime Minister of this country, by the way, made a joke about taking drugs in university. And what we see is this is very racialised. In fact, very often it is young black people who are stopped and searched in the street, particularly in London, 8 times more likely than their white peers, despite the fact there is no evidence they're any more likely to be holding or taking drugs. I've actually never taken a drug in my life or even drunk alcohol, but I still don't sit here as the fun police. I very clearly believe people should be able to do what they want to do. It just wasn't for me.
Definitely argue he's not the fun police, that's for sure. So he wants to legalise drugs because they're a little bit racist, despite the fact he says that there is no connecting evidence. There is. Drug convictions for minority ethnic people does show per capita that they are more likely to be convicted for such crimes. At least this is all consistent, as he's also very happy to plough children with puberty blocker drugs, which will inevitably destroy many of their lives, but he won't even touch alcohol. The man. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. I guess some would argue that a whole generation of kids growing up as crack addicts, questioning whether their gender would help the Green Party's vote, perhaps. As he stands here in this next clip at Heaven in a gay club in central London, he thinks the real threat isn't people coming over in dinghies, but people flying in private jets. Yeah, in another clip, he does go on to state that obviously people who are flying in private jets are the problem. I'm not sure the family of Rhiannon White would agree with Zach Polansky on that matter. Zach also says that we should leave NATO because of Donald Trump. Yes, that's right. Leave NATO while we're at war with Russia and China is basically trying to infiltrate our country, and while we've shared military facilities with the USA. So what's his solution?
Laughing at the idea that Vladimir Putin is going to give up his nuclear weapons because somebody asks him to.
Well, you could have laughed at the point of Nelson Mandela negotiating with the ANC, or we could have laughed at the Irish during the Troubles.
You're not sincerely making the comparison. Come on.
I am making the comparison. I think it's always impossible until it's done.
Come on. Give me a break. The bloke thinks he's going to be the next Nelson Mandela to take on Putin and ask very politely for Vladimir Putin to disarm his nukes. All right, let's get the thoughts of my panel tonight. And joining me is environmental lawyer Paul Powsland, indeed, and my panel, businessman and activist Adam Brooks, former Conservative MP Anna Firth, former Special Labour Advisor and columnist Paul Richards. Adam, I'll first of all start with you. Listen, I want to take people seriously in politics. Zach Polansky has at least been consistent on his message with drugs. I think the puberty blocker stuff is completely abhorrent. Disgusting. It's going to destroy children's lives, but it is consistent with his message of wanting to legalise drugs. Is there a cohort of British people that would support this?
I'm not going to hold back here, Alex. Zach Polansky is a danger to this country. Can honestly anyone picture him as our Prime Minister? For me, he's a complete pillock. He thinks he can end wars by asking leaders not to have wars. He wants men in wigs in women's toilets. He wants crack cocaine and heroin to be legalised. What else is there? He wants more asylum seekers, considering the crimes that we're seeing and the expense that we're all having to pay our taxes because of more immigration in this country. He would bankrupt this country within 3 months. And the scary thing is that a lot of 16 to 24-year-olds are falling for this chancer. He just wants fame. You can see it in all the videos that he does. I can see it being Reform versus Greens, and that is a scary prospect for this country.
Paul, new Paul, hello, welcome to the show. Not Paul Richards on my... there's two Pauls here tonight. Paul, you're a Green Party member, if I'm correct in stating that. Zach today has mentioned he wants rent controls. Rent controls have failed in almost every single place they have ever been proposed. They drive people into poverty. They reduce the rent supply. So why would rent controls be a positive thing for Britain?
You just asked the other panel member who was against Zach to do a generalised rant against Zach, which was pretty, if I'm honest, not very well cited. I mean, the idea that he's going to bankrupt this country in 3 months, have you got any evidence of that whatsoever, or is it just something you just pulled out of your head just there?
He's clearly clueless. He was asked about economic numbers. He couldn't answer. Right. The man, I know more about politics and economics than this guy, and I'm a publican. So anyone that thinks they can vote him in as Prime Minister is voting for this country to be bankrupt.
The fact that we are in this studio having this discussion now is a testament to Zach's success. Did you have this discussion for Adrian Ramsey, our last leader? No, you didn't, because you didn't see him as a threat. Point. You didn't see him as a threat, and the fact is that Zach is giving very popular policies that a lot of people in this country want and that they are going to vote for, and that is why we are now in many opinion polls coming up in line with Labour as the opposition to reform. Indeed, in my seat, where I live in Barking, in East London, it's shaping up to be Reform versus Green. And obviously, may the best party win. In terms of policies, a lot of the policies that you've outlined there are actually not so much Zach's policies as Green Party policies. These aren't just things he's pulled out of his head. These are things which the Green Party have had expert committees working on for many years, of which I'm a member of, for instance, the Habitats working group that decides nature policy. So the drugs policy, many people have worked on that for many years. It then goes through conference and gets voted on by our members. That is a Green Party policy. It is interesting that Reform, our main opposition, has none of that democracy. one person gets to decide, really, what reforms policies are, and that's Nigel Farage. Do you think it's better for the main opposition party in this country to have its policies democratically voted on by its members, or just pulled out of the head of one man who controls the party?
Paul, 10% in front of them in the polls, that says it all.
I'll put this to you. That may be fair. However, there is a slight contradiction. There used to be a Women for Greens. That's disappeared since Polanski became leader. Why is that?
Sorry?
Why has the Women's for Greens group disappeared since Zach Polanski became leader? Well, many of them booted out in party conference. It's not very democratic, is it?
I went and spoke to them outside our conference.
Yeah, outside your conference. Yeah. It's not very democratic. Well, you can't claim to be democratic on one hand, not like what someone says on the other hand, about your conference.
If I, for instance, went in to try to be a Reform member and went to their conference and said, actually, I disagree with the main Reform policy, they would kick me out, as they have with Rupert Lowe, of course, and various other members who disagree with.
But they were party members. That's the difference.
Yeah,
right?
The point is that is the trans policy has not changed. The Green Party has always been trans-inclusive. You can argue against it. Okay. I'm happy to have that discussion. But again, it was democratically voted on by our members, and Zach upholds that policy as he has to as our leader.
Paul Richards.
I think my main beef is that people may consider voting for Green or even joining the Greens because they're concerned about the environment, but it's the other issues that go alongside that. Now, for a start off, nobody's mentioned the anti-Semitism, but the Green Party is now chock full of the anti-Semites that got booted out of the Labour Party 3 years ago, and I've seen no evidence of them tackling that in the same way that we did. Second of all, as Adam has said, the withdrawal from NATO, I think, is genuinely dangerous policy. And if you were to actually ask people, do you want us to be defenceless? Do you want us to pull out of that Western alliance at this most dangerous and perilous of times? They would say no. And yet that is Green Party policy.
And you do align on some things, Paul. I mean, puberty blockers, your party is just, your Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, is just given the go-ahead for children to be tested on. So you do have some alignment with them, don't you?
Well, I think there's a difference between a very limited test to see whether there is any medical evidence for it.
I don't think there's any limit.
Well, let's see what the test does.
I don't think you should experimental GI. I completely agree with that.
And then the third element is this legalisation of crack and heroin, which I think, you can have a reasonable debate about Class C drugs, perhaps, and look at, other models. But the idea of flooding the streets with legal crack and heroin, I've got kids, I don't want them buying crack and heroin.
No one does.
Anna?
Yeah. Well, I'm extremely relieved that he's given up on the idea that he can enlarge women's breasts with his mind. That is, we can certainly take him seriously now, can't we? I mean, this guy is... I'm sorry, Paul, but I actually view this guy... I do view him as a joke. I think this is student politics dressed up as a national programme. And I'll tell you why. Because the most important issue facing our country at the moment is the economy. And whenever he's questioned on the economy, he does not know the basic numbers. He was asked, do you know the size of the national debt? He didn't know that. He doesn't know the size of the deficit. He doesn't even know the size of the UK economy. And I'm afraid that has got to be number one. Number two, on defence, he is incredibly weak on defence. This is not the time for us to have anyone playing around in politics who's weak on defence. That is student politics. On the rent controls, you saw him boasting about that this morning. He was asked, name one country, just one, where rent controls, one of your flagship policies, has worked. He couldn't even name a single one. So I'm sorry, he just isn't serious. But I tell you what, he wouldn't be doing as well, Paul, if the Labour Party weren't doing as badly.
Correct.
I put this partly at Keir Starmer's door. He's tanking the economy, he's giving up our national sovereignty, he's kowtowing to China, and the result of that is you get these loons like Zach Polanski coming forward.
All right,
so
Paul Powell.
There's quite a lot to respond to. There's only three people against it, but I'll do my best. Firstly,
including Alex.
Indeed. So on the economy point, that he's really nailed something that I think a lot of British people actually have felt, which is that the entire system is stacked against them, and it is run in the interests of the wealthy, of the millionaires and the billionaires, rather than the ordinary people. He has identified that, and you cannot say that hasn't struck a chord. That is why he's rising in the opinion polls higher than any Green Party leader has before.
I agree with that, Paul, but it's the solutions he's coming up with which are completely fantasy student politics.
And you mentioned about the environment, and obviously as from Labour, one thing he has identified, for instance, is a direct connection between one of the biggest environmental issues we face, sewage in our rivers, and economics. That the Conservatives and Labour are both in favour of water privatisation, which has looted billions of pounds from the water sector. And as a result, right now, on the river I live on in East London, there is billions of litres a year of sewage illegally going into the rivers, and no one does anything about it. And he has said that is linked to the fact that other people, that that is linked to other economic issues.
All right.
And can I just go on
very briefly? Go on, very briefly.
The defence point is very interesting. We're talking about how NATO is sacred and all this kind of thing. A few weeks after, it looked like, for a moment, our main NATO ally, America, was going to invade another NATO member. And actually, I think Zach called it early and called it right, that actually a defensive alliance which can be turned around at the whim of a madman like Donald Trump is not necessarily an alliance we want to be in.
Would you give up our nukes?
Sorry?
Would you give up our nukes as the Green Party? You're in power tomorrow, would you give up our nukes?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
I wouldn't unilaterally, no, but I don't think that's Green Party policy. It's to negotiate and try and bring about a nuclear-free world, which has been the policy of many...
But Paul, Zach has previously been against nuclear defence.
Yeah.
OK, but I don't think that's his policy now.
Do you think he would press the nuclear button if we was getting attacked? Would Zach Polansky press the nuclear button, yes or no?
I've no idea, but it's not exactly...
Well, that's not good enough. He's Prime Minister. Would he press the nuclear button, yes or no?
Well, he's not Prime Minister, thank goodness.
No, but would he?
This is what passes for defence discussion, a sort of willy-waving. No, would you annihilate the lives of millions of people,
Russia
yes or no?
Russia is sending one over. Does he press it, yes or no?
Would you admit...
Yes,
it's a stupid question, isn't it? It's a stupid question.
Does he retaliate, yes or no?
Should we leave NATO if Donald Trump invaded Greenland, yes or no?
I haven't
yes or no?
That.
Yes or no?
No, we shouldn't.
We'd stay in NATO when one of the main NATO members is invading another...
Russia threatens us, they're sending over a nuke. Our Prime Minister is Zach Polansky. Does he press the button, yes or no, to defend us?
I'm not in Zach's mind.
But do you not think...
As a Green Party member, would you support it?
Would I support annihilating millions of people?
Defending ourselves, yes or no?
Defending ourselves?
Yes. If somebody's sending over a nuclear weapon and we've got the chance to send ours off in a retaliation to stop further strikes, would the Green Party do it?
It wouldn't stop further strikes. The whole point about nuclear deterrence...
You've just shown the whole audience what happens if the Green Party get in. We are absolutely
So all of Britain's cities lie as a nuclear wasteland and millions of people are dead. Would you retaliate by killing millions more Russians? It's a stupid question, isn't it?
Right, gentlemen, we have to leave it there. Paul Powell, thank you very much for coming and giving a robust debate. It's really... I know it's a bit of a difficult audience for you here tonight, but thank you, appreciate it nonetheless. We're going to move on because it's time for a Great British giveaway now. It's your chance to win a luxury holiday, £10,000 for two, and you can get 30 grand in tax-free cash as well. Here's Hayley Sparks with all the details.
This year, the adventure of a lifetime could be on us. Courtesy of Riviera Travel, there's a terrific £10,000 holiday for two to be won. You could be here exploring the magic of Egypt on a Nile River cruise. Or choose from over 30 worldwide destinations like Thailand, South Africa, New Zealand or even Sri Lanka. And because they have over 40 years experience with handcrafted tours, you'll be safe in the knowledge that every step of the journey will be planned with you in mind. We'll also boost your bank account with a fabulous £30,000 in tax-free cash, which you'll be able to spend however you like this year. So what are you waiting for?
For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right then, coming up. Nazi salutes, spitting, beheading gestures, it's all taken over London once again. I'll bring you some of that astonishing footage next. This is Alex Armstrong tonight, only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Conservative Shadow Justice Secretary Nick Timothy MP has said that multiculturalism has turned Britain into a country that doesn't treat people equally. He's claiming that a fear of backlash has led to neglect in tackling Islamists and criminal gangs from ethnic minorities. He says this is why there is a reluctance to tackle ethnic minority rape gangs, Sharia courts, female genital mutilation and honour-based crimes. So I'm asking tonight, has multiculturalism created an unequal Britain? And I'm now joined by political commentator Aisha Ali Khan and assistant comment editor at The Spectator, John Power. Aisha, I'll start with you. Do you think multiculturalism has created an unequal Britain?
Hi, Alex. No, I don't think so. I think we've obviously had these issues that you've just listed a few of them, the grooming gangs, for example, extremism and so on. And of course, we've had these issues that have been prevalent for a long period of time. They weren't dealt with properly. They should have been dealt with properly. And had they been dealt with properly, we would have seen them being the crimes being carried on for such a long period of time. But it wasn't just the fact that these perpetrators were allowed to get away. It was a systematic issue, and we've got to address those issues. But it's not because there were. I mean, obviously, multiculturalism has been wonderful for Britain. It's been obviously beneficial for people like myself. It's allowed us to contribute to society, pay taxes, look at the food, the different types of food we have today, and also give something back as well. So this is something that's benefited us and obviously allowed us to help society as well. And obviously British society has benefited as well.
All right, let me pass it over to John now. John, thanks for joining me this evening. Do you agree with Nick Timothy's comments that it's stopped us from tackling things like honour-based violence and things like that?
Yes, I'd have to disagree with Aisha's point. I think the issue with grooming gangs was not just a systematic failure. I suppose in a sense it was a systematic failure. But as the Casey audit that came out last year says very, very specifically and very clearly, This was unfortunately a racially based issue. It was an issue of Pakistani men, British Pakistani men primarily, targeting white girls. And the audit also found that the sensitivities around the issue of race were a reason that authorities are not tackling it properly. I agree we've known about it for a long time. It's something that needs to be solved. And there's many ways in which the state fails victims of child sexual assault that have nothing to do with race. But in this specific case, it does seem to be the primary driving factor. And I think the reason it's not being solved and the reason it hasn't been solved for the last 20 years is because I don't think the state is really willing to, pull stuff up and figure out what's going out underneath the surface, because I think it would have a lot of unfortunate and very hard lessons about how multiculturalism hasn't been working here, I think really in the past 50 or 60 years.
Aisha, this is an important point, isn't it? Because the grooming gang crisis, the rape gang crisis in Britain was really not talked about because of political correctness, and that was a big part of multiculturalism in Britain. That's failed the country massively, has it not?
Alex, I mean, look, I've been talking about this issue for such a long time. I'm from Keighley. I've said this so many times. I saw my own friends being groomed. I saw my own friends being picked up by older men in taxis and so on. And nobody did anything about it. And it went on for years.
But why was that, Aisha? Why was that? Why did nobody do anything about it?
Honestly, I think there was obviously a number of reasons, primarily because some of the girls were from very disadvantaged backgrounds. They were from care homes. The system itself, for example, the police, the social services, people that were supposed to look out for these girls did not do enough. And again, John, you have made a point, the idea of pointing fingers, they just were not able to do so. I mean, I myself have come out and I've said things. I've spoken to police officers. Nazir Afzal, the prosecutor, the CPS prosecutor himself, came out and actually ordered a review of why these girls weren't being believed and why these cases weren't going to court. And I remember the police officer saying to me, "Oh my God, thank you so much for speaking out, because we can't do it, but at least because you're British Pakistani and you're a Muslim and you're speaking out, it's actually helping us. It's giving us."
But Aisha, are you not proving Nick Timothy's point by saying this? You're proving the point that you were only allowed to talk about it because of your heritage, and that actually a lot of them weren't allowed to talk about it.
That shouldn't be the case, Alex.
Well, I know it shouldn't, but that's
that should be the case.
I totally understand that. It's very commendable that you are, that you have done so. However, Nick Timothy's point, and I'll put this to you, John, it was because of people's backgrounds, and that white people, essentially white British people, were told, shut up.
I mean, it's kind of almost not really up for debate. It's what the case the audit says. So if people want to dispute the point that there was a racial dynamic to the grooming gangs, they have to take it up with the government. That's what the government's findings in this report are, I'm afraid.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, so I just want to make a point as well that we've been calling out grooming gangs. We don't want these people to get away. Even historically, we want these people to be brought to justice. And it's not like, obviously, it's really upsetting when I've seen some of the stuff in the newspapers. I've read some of the transcripts as well, and it's appalling, these poor victims, what they had to go through. And obviously, there still hasn't been justice served in so many cases, which is exactly what we want to see as well.
I should totally understand that. And obviously, as I've said, commendable for you for speaking out, and we all do. I'm sure our viewers at home will commend you for doing the same thing. I think, the reality is it's proven the point that if multiculturalism had been so great, then white British people would have been able to point to this a while ago. I think perhaps that's what we're talking about this evening. Aisha and John, thank you very much for joining me this evening. A pleasure to have your company and talk about this very important issue. Coming up at 10 p.m. Well, Islamist hate has taken over London once again. I'm going to bring you some genuinely shocking footage. Stay with me. This is Alex Armstrong tonight, only on GB News.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. Well, we have a south-shifted jet stream that's just bringing areas of low pressure across Europe. So it is unsettled. We've got spells of rain, more so across Portugal and into Spain and into France. Across the Mediterranean, we are also seeing some heavy spells of rain and thunderstorms, but also some strong winds. So expect some rough seas here. Otherwise, there's going to be further showers on the cars. There will be some brightness in between, though.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. A new week is upon us, but the weather is very much remaining in the same theme we've seen during this last one. It's rather unsettled. We've got rain at present across the southeast and in the northeast. It could be heavy at times in places. Further towards the west for parts of southwest England, Wales, but particularly Northern Ireland, skies will be clearing overnight, so we'll see some frost developing, freezing fog, but also some icy stretches around first thing on Monday morning. But you have the clouds still lingering in the east. Temperatures will be a shade higher as you step out first thing tomorrow morning. It is, though, going to be a reasonably grey, dull, drab day for many of us, with some pretty strong winds out towards the Northern Isles, continuing to see some gale strength gusts through here. It's generally western regions that might see a few more in the way of those limited, brighter, perhaps sunnier spells at times, but really is cloud is going to be the main theme right throughout the day, and that will continue to bring some patchy outbreaks of rain and drizzle in various locations. There is this band of longer rain that will just push its way into the Isles of Scilly and eventually towards parts of Cornwall as we head into the afternoon period. The breeze beginning to strengthen through here as well. Feeling quite cool underneath all the clouds, temperatures generally peaking at around 6 to 9 degrees Celsius. We'll have this focus on this rain as it continues to push inland into Monday evening, and then there's a rain warning in force for this as it does arrive associated with this area of low pressure. Meanwhile, up towards the north, we're going to be pulling in some slightly colder air from the continent into Tuesday, and so that will allow for snow to start falling to as low as 300 metres or so over some of the Scottish mountains, perhaps to lower levels for the likes of Orkney and Shetland as well. And we could see a little bit of hill snow for the likes of Wales as that band of rain continues its journey northwards, so there is going to be some further wet conditions around at times for many of us as we head throughout this forthcoming week.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it. Don't get us on the BBC. Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Tonight's Reform's Andrea Jenkins will be joining me shortly to talk about this shocking net zero story. But before that, Lawless London has struck again. Hollywood star Tom Cruise has fled his £35 million Knightsbridge Knightsbridge luxury flat, with insiders saying no longer he feels he's not safe in London anymore. This is after a terrifying daylight robbery of a Rolex store just around the corner from him in Richmond. That was a few days ago in Knightsbridge Station. Here's what happened just yesterday in the leafy borough of Richmond.
Calling the police. Call the police.
Shut the door in case he comes in here.
I just don't think London's safe anymore. If it's happening in Richmond, for goodness sake. Well, I'm now joined by former Police and Crime Commissioner Festus Akinbisoye. I've got it wrong, haven't I? Have I got it wrong?
I still love you anyway.
Yeah, OK, thank you, Festus. We were practicing at the break.
That was correct.
All right, good.
That was correct.
Festus was testing me before the break, just so you know. The rest of my panel's here. Festus, look, crime is out of control, isn't it? Crime is out of control in London. We hear about, of course, a lot of people say, oh, it's getting better, but we do hear some theft is going up, rape is going up, knife crime is still going up, even though it's dipped a little bit, it's still up massively from where it should be. People just don't feel safe.
No, I do
do wish that Tom Cruise had done one thing before he left.
Yeah.
Just giving me the flat.
Yeah, I'm up for it too.
I would have taken it.
You would have looked after it for
I would have looked after it. I would have been safe. But no, on a serious note, though, what I think is really unacceptable is when we have the Mayor of London or certain individuals saying that anyone who's raising the issue of crime and not feeling safe in London as haters.
Yeah.
That does not help anybody whatsoever at all. And it's not talking London down by highlighting these things, because no matter what the figures say, we have all these videos and people see that again and again and again. And look, while we've got the most senior police officer in this country at the moment obsessing over restructuring of police forces and creating all these mega forces, we just want them to get the basics right.
Yeah, absolutely right. Adam, you've been running a knife campaign for a really, really long time, haven't you?
Yeah.
So you speak to a lot of victims of knife crime in London. Do you visit London often? Do you feel safe?
I feel safe because I'm not scared, but if I was a woman, I wouldn't be walking about London on my own. There is a rape reported every hour, and that was up to last year. Even the BBC cited that.
Yeah.
We are the phone theft capital of Europe. 16% of all phones stolen in Europe.
The Commissioner denies that
in London,
apparently, but hey,
what you said there about you're sick and tired of the Mayor labelling people as haters. He doesn't just label us as haters. He calls us far right. So are you far right? And this is the absurdity. This is the absurdity of it. Shoplifting is up 50% in 1 year. Rape is up. Knife crime is an epidemic. We've got a petition for mandatory 5-year sentences for anyone carrying a knife. Me and Norman Brennan, a former police officer, believe that will deter many. So if anyone wants to sign that, please go to my X account, EssexPR, and it's the pinned tweet.
Paul, I'll come to you because this is your mayor, Sadiq Khan, who is failing Londoners, in my opinion. Why is he not failing Londoners in your opinion?
Well, first of all, this is the best city in the world, right? And second of all, I think it's one of the most safest capital cities in the world.
Do you think so?
I'd rather walk anywhere in London than anywhere in New York, for example, any of the other cities. And I think that you have to ask yourself, why is there this concerted effort to talk down London, to take down London on a global stage? Who does it benefit? It benefits our democratic competitors like New York, but it also benefits our enemies. And this constant drumbeat that there are no-go areas, that it's not safe to go out. Proper Londoners just laugh at that stuff. We know we can go anywhere in London perfectly safely. I've not seen a single crime in London. I've been coming here since 1969.
You've never seen a crime since 1969?
I've never seen a serious crime.
Very naive, mate. Very naive.
This could be like a David Lammy moment where there's crime happening behind him and there's actually...
Listen, I go around Soho, I go around the West End, I go Camden.
I've seen plenty of crime in London. I've lived here my whole life, Paul.
It's a safe city.
I'll come to you. There is a charge of the Conservatives cut back policing massively while they're in charge, particularly when Theresa May was Home Secretary.
20,000 officers off the streets. 20,000.
Is your party to blame for this crisis?
No, it's not. And the comparison we should be making is looking at London, where we've got Sadiq Khan in charge.
This is what it's about, isn't it? It's all about the mayoral election, isn't it? It's nothing to do with London.
When we left office, we actually had more police than ever before. But in London, I'm sorry, but Sadiq Khan has ruined London, and knife crime in particular. It has dipped this particular year, but it went up the year before. It went up to over 16,000.
It's still massively increased from where it should be.
86% on the decade, knife crime in London.
44 a day.
Festus, in your role, do you think London is becoming a worse city when you look at it from a bird's eye view? Do you think that we're suffering here and the capital deserves better?
No, I love this city. I grew up here. I've got a place here now. I've got a business here. London, actually, for me, is generally the best city in the world, in my opinion, right? However, if you're looking at crime specifically, if we're looking at things like homicides, the crime that most people in London would never experience in their lifetime, okay, it is going down, but actually it's going down across the country, not just in London. However, if you look at the crimes that people are more likely to experience, like theft, burglaries, antisocial behaviour, phone snatching, and all those kind of things, it is growing.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that Sadiq Khan is responsible for all of that, but he's got to take some responsibility for it, because He's the Police and Crime Commissioner.
Let me put this to you, Paul, because, you know, the mayor has been challenged. He's the Police and Crime Commissioner. He's been challenged by Susan Hall about grooming gangs, for example. He's been very neglectful in at least seeming like he's trying to tackle the issue. The City Hall Conservatives have put a charge to him that he's withholding cash for an election year and that he's going to spend big to try and win votes.
He did it last time, by the way.
What do you make of that?
Well, I think everyone's masks are slipping a bit here. You know, it's supposed to be a discussion about tackling crime in London, and within seconds we're talking about Sadiq Khan.
Well, he is the Police and Crime Commissioner.
He's
the Police and Crime Commissioner, Paul. The buck stops with him.
He is the Police and Crime Commissioner, but he's also up for re-election, isn't it? So all of you are here to talk about the election.
I don't care.
What is it about the election?
But that is actually an outrageous thing to say.
You mentioned him first. You mentioned him,
People have been stabbed.
And you
people have lost their lives in London because of Sadiq Khan's...
Because of Sadiq Khan?
So here's a fact. In all the time, in the last 18 months or so that I've been coming to GB News, I often go to Edgware and walk along. And it's dark, and you do not feel 100% safe as a woman walking along. And I've never once yet seen a police officer.
All right.
Now, that would make a difference.
Well, they've got sacked by the Tories, didn't they?
Festus, final word to you. Here's your guest in the studio. What would you like to see improve about London to make London feel safer for people, to stop seeing scenes like that jewellery theft, to stop seeing, you know, big bollards of things across the roads like, you know, don't put your phone out here on Oxford Street, for example. What can we do to improve London?
Without question, if you do not have the numbers on the streets, you cannot do the job.
More police officers.
Absolutely. And at the moment, what we are seeing is that the Met has failed to meet its target for recruitment every single year, and retention is falling through the floor, and someone has got to carry the can for that.
Yeah, indeed. And we've also seen, you know, the Royal Parks Police cut and things like that. Other
and
things
schools
cut.
policing as well.
Absolutely. All right, look, on the incident in Richmond, the Met Police told GB News officers responded to an aggravated burglary in Richmond at around 10:30 a.m. yesterday. No injuries were reported, and we are working to identify and arrest those responsible. All right, coming up. Well, the hate marches are back. Was Suella Braverman right to try and ban them all those years ago? I'll bring you some really shocking footage. This is Alex Armstrong tonight. Stay tuned.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co. with you.
Hello, everyone. Patrick Christie's here. GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show Live, every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, the net zero insanity rolls on and on and on, and it's you and me, ordinary people, who continue to pay the price for it. Now, the latest development is this. A new green levy on Britain's last blast furnaces could see taxpayers forced to cough up 500 million quid a year, potentially making Scunthorpe Steelworks so uncompetitive they are forced to shut down. But could this policy end up killing us? Well, some new research has found millions of Brits could face potential health dangers from net zero LED street lighting currently being rolled out by local authorities. Well, joining me now is the Mayor of Greater Lincolnshire, Dame Andrea Jenkins. Andrea, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Net zero, it's a topic that we talk about here on GB News because it's costing our country a fortune. Andrea, should we just get rid of this insane policy?
Oh, absolutely. Look, I've been campaigning to end this net zero narrative for years. I mean, if you look, the three main parties, they had a homogenized view on net zero, so there's no scrutiny. Now, if you look at Virgin Steel, though, British Steel, the issue is they're actually changing to an electric arc furnace. So we cannot burn Virgin Steel in Britain anymore, which is ludicrous. And so we're literally, and recently as well, we've had Lindsay Oil Refinery. All these great industries are dying on the altar of net zero, and it's wrong.
And Ed Miliband, of course, as well, is outsourcing a lot of our steel supply to China to build a lot of things here in the UK, including solar panels and things like this. How much damage would this new £500 million levy on taxpayers do to the steelworks?
Well, I just think, look, I know the steelworks, I know the workers. You're talking generations of families who have worked there. And it's very sad. I mean, look, first of all, I just recently signed the Steel Charter, and I'm planning to build a new town over the coming years, a trades college, and that will be using British Steel. You know, God willing, it's still there. I was at the Associated British Port at the weekend, and they have literally invested 20 million in using British Steel. We've got to start buying British. We've got to actually save our fabulous steelworks, what's left in Britain. But what about the energy security? Because it is killing the industry. And don't forget the Chinese went in there, a Chinese company, run it down. And, you know, this is quite often their modus operandi, so they can be the global superpowers on steel, isn't it, really?
Andrea, I guess the challenge to this from critics would be that net zero is necessary to save our climate, and that Britain needs to play a role in that. What would you say to those criticisms?
Well, it depends on the academics. Look, I was part of Net Zero Watch for 2-3 years, and there's plenty of academic evidence out there and research that shows the opposite. And when we are such a small country as Britain, and you've got China, Russia, all these other big super powers out there who are, you know, they don't care about the net zero, why should it be British taxpayers who suffer?
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Dame Andrea Jenkins, for joining me this evening to talk about this topic that's very close to the British people's hearts. It really is. Dame Andrea Jenkins, thank you very much for joining me. On Britain's net zero push, Energy Secretary said this, Ed Miliband, this Labour government are standing up for our national interest by driving for clean energy, which can get the UK off fossil fuels roller coaster and give us energy sovereignty and abundance. Coming up. Yeah, listen, this is really shocking stuff. If you stayed with me so far tonight, I'm going to bring you some harrowing footage of what is going on in our capital. And there's another story on the back of this that I want to bring you as well, because it's not just these sort of hate marches that have been dominating London, which I think Suella Braverman called out a very long time ago. There's also a charge that a Islamic centre in London had a stall seller that was selling Hezbollah martyr phone cases in it. And this stuff is absolutely bonkers. You just can't believe it. Some of you are writing here into me on gbnews.com/Yorsay. By the way, Yvonne says there's no such thing as net zero. Never was, never has been. Today there are 43 currently erupting volcanoes and many with minor activity. Yeah, there's a lot, isn't there? And climate change is something we talk about all the time, but it's also being attacked left, right and centre. So look, coming up on the show, we're going to be talking about this hate march through London yesterday, some of the hand gestures, the Nazi salutes. I'm going to show you this shocking footage. Stay with me. Of course, I'll bring you that and a lot more throughout the next hour. This is Alex Armstrong tonight, only on GB News.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. A new week is upon us, but the weather is very much remaining in the same theme we've seen during this last one. It's rather unsettled. We've got rain at present across the southeast and in the northeast. It could be heavy at times in places. Further towards the west for parts of southwest England, Wales, but particularly Northern Ireland, skies will be clearing overnight, so we'll see some frost developing, freezing fog, but also some icy stretches around first thing on Monday morning. But you have the clouds still lingering in the east. Temperatures will be a shade higher as you step out first thing tomorrow morning. It is, though, going to be a reasonably grey, dull, drab day for many of us, with some pretty strong winds out towards the Northern Isles, continuing to see some gale strength gusts through here. It's generally western regions that might see a few more in the way of those limited, brighter, perhaps sunnier spells at times, but really is cloud is going to be the main theme right throughout the day, and that will continue to bring some patchy outbreaks of rain and drizzle in various locations. There is this band of longer rain that will just push its way into the Isles of Scilly and eventually towards parts of Cornwall as we head into the afternoon period. The breeze beginning to strengthen through here as well. Feeling quite cool underneath all the clouds, temperatures generally peaking at around 6 to 9 degrees Celsius. We'll have this focus on this rain as it continues to push inland into Monday evening, and then there's a rain warning in force for this as it does arrive associated with this area of low pressure. Meanwhile, up towards the north, we're going to be pulling in some slightly colder air from the continent into Tuesday, and so that will allow for snow to start falling to as low as 300 metres or so over some of the Scottish mountains, perhaps to lower levels for the likes of Orkney and Shetland as well. We could see a little bit of hill snow for the likes of Wales as that band of rain continues its journey northwards, so there is going to be some further wet conditions around at times for many of us as we head throughout this forthcoming week.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We want you to set off on the destination of your dreams this year, as you could win an incredible holiday for two worth £10,000. Courtesy of Riviera Travel, you'll get to choose from 47 tours in over 30 worldwide destinations. We'll also give you £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure you really make a splash this summer.
For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Bowl. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
It's 10 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong. Tonight. Islamist hate marchers take over London once again. And off the back of it is another story. Hezbollah martyr merchandise was reportedly being sold at a London Islamic centre.
These rumours about him being a dictator have no value at all.
Trust me, the footage is absolutely astonishing. People take to the streets defending Iran's Ayatollah, who's been reported of murdering thousands of protesters. Also tonight.
Listen, baby, ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low, ain't no river wide enough, baby.
It's enough to wish you were deaf, unfortunately, isn't it? Did you know that Green Party leader Zach Polanski once also made a movie? And he also suggested that we need to legalise all the drugs and take the UK out of NATO. Wacky stuff. And...
Calling the police! Call the police!
Well, Lawless London even strikes the quiet, leafy borough of Richmond. Is our capital just completely unsafe these days? And clergymen are being forced to sermon on anti-racism. Can you believe this? In order to secure diversity funding. It's a crazy story, and I'm going to bring you all the details. Joining me tonight is businessman and activist Adam Brooks, former Conservative MP Anna Firth, and former Labour Special Advisor and columnist Paul Richards. Now, I want you to listen to this, because this has got to be the most unhinged rant I have ever heard.
They want to find me good. They want to ban me good. Do it! Have a look at yourselves, every single goddamn one of you.
Yeah, I feel like that sometimes here. Listen, we've got another massive hour coming up for you. Your Sunday evening is just getting started, but Bethany Elsey is going to give you your news headlines first.
Alex, thank you. Good evening. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 2 minutes past 10. The latest release of documents from the so-called Epstein files have revealed Lord Mandelson received payments totalling $75,000 when he was a Labour MP. One bank statement shows $25,000 was sent to his then partner, now husband, in 2003. Two further payments of the same amount were made in 2004 directly to Peter Mandelson himself. The peer, who was sacked as US ambassador last year because of his links to the convicted paedophile, says he doesn't recall the payments and has questioned the authenticity of the documents. Donald Trump and Iran's top security official have held talks at the Pentagon to try and negotiate a deal to avoid military strikes. Trump says Iran should agree not to have any nuclear weapons, but Tehran insists its ballistic missiles and defence capabilities should not be on the agenda. Washington has deployed a naval aircraft carrier off Iran's shore following a deadly crackdown on anti-government protests, which killed thousands of people. Iran's supreme leader warned a US attack on the country would spark a regional war, but the US president said he's hopeful they'll come to an agreement.
We have the biggest, most powerful ships in the world over there, very close, a couple of days, and hopefully we'll make a deal. If we don't make a deal, then we'll find out whether or not he was right.
Officials in Ukraine say at least 12 people have been killed and 7 injured after a Russian drone strike hit a bus carrying mine workers. Earlier, strikes also hit a maternity hospital and a residential building, injuring 9 further people. The attacks came just hours after President Volodymyr Zelensky announced a second round of US-led peace talks between the two countries. They're set to take place in Abu Dhabi this week. It's the battle of the rappers at this year's Grammys as Bad Bunny and Kendrick Lamar go head-to-head for Album of the Year. 14-time Grammy-winning star Lady Gaga is nominated for 7 awards, including Record of the Year with Abracadabra. British acts Olivia Dean and Lola Young are in the running for the coveted Best New Artist, and Cynthia Erivo is one of the top nominated Brits, with special recognition for the Wicked soundtrack. And in sport, Carlos Alcaraz has made tennis history, beating Novak Djokovic in 4 sets to win the Australian Open. The world #1 has become the youngest man to complete the career Grand Slam of all 4 major titles, having won Wimbledon and the French and US Opens twice, each since 2022. 38-year-old Djokovic suggested he's not sure whether he will compete in Melbourne again next year. Those are your latest headlines. I'll have more for you in an hour's time.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Islamist and sectarian hate marches have taken over London again this weekend. We have seen spitting, Nazi salutes and gestures of beheading. Disgusting. People are also praising Ayatollah Khomeini, the Iran's terrorist Islamist ruler.
So, last message for Mr. Khomeini. We all love Khomeini.
We all love Ayatollah Khamenei. I am too little to send him a message. All I am saying is that he is not only the pride of the Iranian nation, but he is also the pride of the Muslim world. He has been the best politician ever so far. All these rumors about him being a dictator have no value at all.
What's wrong with these people? This is happening in broad daylight on the streets of Britain's capital city. And to top it all off, at an Islamic centre in London, terrorist merchandise was reportedly being sold, including Hezbollah phone cases. Phone cases emblazoned with Hassan Nasrallah, the Hezbollah leader Israel took out in 2024 at a so-called Islamic community bazaar in the registered charity's premises. Key rings pledging loyalty to Khomeini, stickers of Soleimani, portraits of Khomeini himself. The same centre, by the way, in January 2020 organised a candle-lit vigil for Soleimani, the evil commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard that was taken out by Israel in 2024. They described him as a dedicated soldier of Islam and a great martyr. In October 2022, the same centre's director, Saeed Hashem Mousavi, delivered a speech branding Iranian protesters soldiers of Satan while accusing women who refuse to wear hijabs of spreading poison. And what do you think we're doing about it? Well, you'll be pleased to know the Charity Commission is scrutinising it. Are you having a laugh? Scrutinising it. This place has vigils for martyred terrorists, yet it still operates and collects donations, still peddles this poison right here in our capital city of London. This is what happens when you fail to prescribe groups like the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, when you let the Muslim Brotherhood's tentacles spread unchecked, when politicians have to tiptoe around community sensitivities instead of calling out hate for what it is. It's being increasingly clear that the spread of radical Islam is being completely ignored, allowing this ideology to fester and radicalise, I'd argue, at this point, millions of people living in Britain. When will Keir Starmer and the Labour Party, who are in government, stop pandering to this Islamism and take some action? Well, I've got my panel here tonight. Businessman and activist Adam Brooks, former Conservative MP Anna Firth, and former Labour Special Advisor and columnist Paul Richards. Adam, I'll start with you. That footage has been going viral all day long, particularly on X. It is shocking. There's people defending, putting up gestures symbolising Hezbollah, supporting Palestine Action, supporting many banned prescribed terrorist organisations, including the one that isn't the IRGC, which is Iran's Islamist terror group. What has gone on?
Don't underestimate how many people this puts off going up London. There's a lot of people, especially in my area, say, oh, we just can't go up London of a weekend now. All these pro-Palestine marches and the hatred. We're definitely not letting our kids go up there. So it really is affecting London. But going back to some of the scenes that we've seen, it's quite clear we live in a two-tier country. A two-tier government, two-tier media that let these sort of people off. If we saw someone do a Nazi salute at a Tommy Robinson march, the next day the headlines would be rise of the far right, far right problem. We've seen that today by an Iranian protester. We won't see that in the newspapers, most probably. That is what people have got the ump with in this country. The two-tier. The police have seen...
just so people know, you mean the pro-Islamist regime protesters, right? Just because I know a lot of our audience are Iranians watching.
I've seen a video. He was spitting and doing Nazi salutes. Now, we also have had people call for jihad on the streets of London. Not one arrest for that. Yet again, you see some of the scenes from maybe a Tommy Robinson march and people are ripped off the street for very little. It's such hypocrisy. It's a joke.
And the next day, Paul, what happens when you see those Unite the Kingdom rallies by Tommy Robinson? You have Sadiq Khan, you have Keir Starmer, you had the Home Secretary, all writing on X that there will be no such hatred allowed in London. This is despicable. Why not the same for these people?
Well,
are you pandering?
The Labour government took an awful lot of heat for prescribing Palestine Action, you will recall, but actually that was the right thing to do. And they did send the police in, and the police cracked heads and made mass arrests for anyone saying that they said they supported that particular prescribed terrorist organisation. Mass arrests were made.
Here? Because your party leaders did put out messages against that rally, which was widely peaceful, and we've had multiple of these Palestine rallies that are just constantly spewing hatred that is terrifying the Jewish community, and the Prime Minister hasn't got anything to say. Where's Sadiq Khan?
Well, and again, I think the government will prescribe the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, quite rightly too. I think the police must do a lot more when they hear those slogans that we know to be anti-Semitic, when they see some of the symbols, and certainly some of the things we've seen in the footage there. The police need to go in much, much harder and make arrests.
But the Home Secretary could couldn't she?
I think maybe that is the point we're at, because I think actually, you know, London is being clogged up week after week. And it does rather suggest they're not really caring that much about Gaza, which is what the original deal was. You know, we've now got a peace deal in place and the war has stopped in Gaza, and yet they're still demonstrating. So the police need to be far more literate about what counts as anti-Semitism. They need to be more aware of what these different revolutionary groups are, and they need to go in and disrupt and arrest them when they are on the streets.
Anna, Suella Braverman was right, wasn't she? They call them hate marches all that time ago, wasn't she?
Well, definitely this one is absolutely a hate march. When you've got people going down the street, waving Hezbollah flags, chanting Infidida, is that how you pronounce it?
Intifada.
Intifada, thank you, and spitting. That is absolutely a hate march, and I want to know, where are the police? Why aren't we seeing the police arresting people?
Well, if Suella was right, why did Rishi Sunak, the former Prime Minister, sack her?
I can't remember the details around that, to be quite honest with you.
I do.
And I don't actually think, in all honesty, Alex, that is relevant, because I think...
Of course it's relevant. Of course it's relevant. She wanted to crack down on it, and your party leader decided that was a bad idea and that she should be sacked.
That is in the past, Alex.
Doesn't matter, though, does it?
What we're seeing today is actually really, really important, and I think we should discuss it, because a couple of weeks ago I was on a panel here and we were discussing an anti-Islam march. 75-odd people who wanted to march in Tower Hamlet, not allowed to do so by the Met. And yet you see this. So that, to me, is the inconsistency which is really alarming.
Well, hang on, because the one in Tower Hamlets was going to be outside the Tube on a narrow street where it would have blocked access to the hospital.
No, hang on a second.
The hospital across the road.
Anna's right. Anna's right. That's not true, because
it went on in the park
Paul,
instead.
Hang on a second. That's rubbish. Because
it's not rubbish at all. It's exactly
that same day that protest was set to go ahead, there was a pro-sectarian march instead.
Well, that shouldn't have been allowed either on that crowded street outside the hospital.
But it was allowed. Why did the Home Secretary stop that and she stopped the other one? Why did the Home Secretary allow protesters to go outside of the stadium where the Tel Aviv fans were meant to be, but she stopped the Israeli fans?
Well, that's why the police chief has had to fall on his sword, quite rightly, because that was a terrible mistake.
The Met Police allowed a protest outside of a synagogue. Now, that shows two-tier policing, because they would never allow a protest outside of a mosque.
That shouldn't be allowed.
Paul, you're saying these things shouldn't be allowed, and I appreciate that you agree with us. However, the government is doing nothing about it. They are sat on their hands. The Home Secretary talks, saying she's going to do stuff, and actually she doesn't end up doing anything. It's all just big talk, isn't it?
We have prescribed Palestine action.
One group. Where's the...
they're the ones that are doing the demonstrations, aren't they?
Your mates in the EU have already prescribed the IRGC. That's normally when Keir Starmer acts, when Macron's done something. Why hasn't he done it yet?
Well, I think that's what's good. Well, before next week, I bet you
is he not capable of making decisions, the Prime Minister? Has he got no leadership?
Paul, how many arrests? These protesters...
There were hundreds of arrests.
Were warned
when they came
if
into
they
Westminster,
Intifada, they would be arrested. I hope they do, and I hope we throw the book at
Peter
them.
Tatchell was arrested yesterday for a sign. So I'm not going to repeat the slogan, but the slogan was on the sign, and he was arrested yesterday.
Well, there should be tens of arrests as a result of this.
I'll tell you why. This government is scared to offend the 6 million Muslims in this country.
Absolutely nonsense.
And they're scared to lose the votes. That is why they pandered to it. Our police force are fabricating evidence just so they don't offend extremist Islamists in this country.
What you're doing there, though, is dangerous, because you're conflating people in this country who are Muslim with Islamist terror and with the
no, I'm not.
political
I'm our government
ideology.
Is scared of offending
because they're two different things. The Muslim vote does not support this either. They don't want to see Hezbollah on the streets of London.
The thing that I find most offensive was that chap at the end talking about the Ayatollahs and talking about the Iranian regime. Because
an English person, from what I can understand, by the way. Just for the record.
a lot of the demonstrators are exactly that, woolly-headed Guardianistas, middle-class English people.
They are executing young girls in Iran.
Yes, they are.
Mahsa Amini was brutally murdered simply because she wasn't wearing the burqa correctly. It wasn't that she didn't have one on, she wasn't wearing it correctly. And the girls in Iran and the women have been so brave for 3 years. We should be standing by them.
And where are the human rights activists that were so pro-Palestine, yet they don't want to even mention Iran because they don't want to cross the line and hopefully offend people? Zach Palansky's one of them. You know, he hasn't mentioned Iran from what I've seen on his X account. Why not?
Or Jeremy Corbyn.
Why not?
Yeah.
This is the problem, isn't it? We do have a big issue here, and I do really hope the Prime Minister, for the good of the country, gets to grips with it, because for all intents and purposes, it's running out of control, and prescribing Palestine action isn't going far enough. These marches are terrifying people, and I see this footage. This is not a London I grew up in. This is not a peaceful and, multicultural society we were promised. This is a hateful society.
I've seen them. I mean, I've seen them up front, and they are terrifying.
It's terrifying.
They're allowed to mask up, Alex. No other marches are allowed to wear masks.
Quite.
These lot are. They're given free rein again. The police are cowed by these people.
It's totally bonkers stuff. Right. The Met Police have told GB News that it made 13 arrests during yesterday's Palestine Coalition protest, including a man in a separate clip that we didn't show tonight, but we did send it to them. Of course, we chose not to air it. Officers identified him in the crowd and he was arrested on suspicion of stirring up racial hatred. A spokesman for the Islamic Centre of England has said this. The trustees take all concerns about this centre very seriously. We're currently reviewing matters pertaining to the December 14th event, and in light of this, we are unable to comment further at this time. And the Charity Commission launched a full-scale statutory inquiry in the months following Mousavi's speech. A spokesman for the Commission added, as part of our ongoing inquiry into the Islamic Centre of England, we have raised concerns with trustees about material sold by third parties at recent events hosted at the charity's premises. OK, time for a brand new Great British giveaway. It's your chance to win a luxury 10 grand holiday for two and 30 grand in tax-free cash. Here's Hayley Sparks.
This year, the adventure of a lifetime could be on us. Courtesy of Riviera Travel, there's a terrific £10,000 holiday for two to be won. You could be here exploring the magic of Egypt on a Nile River cruise, or choose from over 30 worldwide destinations like Thailand, South Africa, New Zealand, or even Sri Lanka. And because they have over 40 years' experience with handcrafted tours, you'll be safe in the knowledge that every step of the journey will be planned with you in mind. We'll also boost your bank account with a fabulous £30,000 in tax-free cash, which you'll be able to spend however you like this year. So what are you waiting for?
For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes are closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, coming up.
They want to find me good. They want to ban me good. Do it. Have a look at yourselves, every single goddamn one of you.
You've got to listen to the full clip. It's coming up shortly. And also, this shocking story in tomorrow's Telegraph. Breaking tonight, the British countryside will be made into a less white environment under nationwide diversity plans. Just end it all now, honestly. This is Alex Armstrong tonight. Stay tuned for these breaking stories.
Five hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Yes, thanks for having me very much. Yeah, they are struggling at the moment quite a lot. I mean, of course, we hear about taxes and the way that rates are changing, but actually pubs, over the last 2 years, whilst I've been going across the country, have been telling me over and over again, it gets harder and harder just to exist.
And you've got social media accounts, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people watch your amazing videos where you go into a boozer, you tell its story, you talk to locals, you get right to the heart and soul, because pubs aren't just about pounds and pence, they're about communities, they're about the mortar that holds together the bricks of Britain.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, who would have thought when I started doing this 2 years ago that I would be here now with almost 500,000 followers? It is a crazy experience. Of course, you know, this for me started as a hobby. You know, and I'm going to give away my age now. As 20 years ago, as a group of 20-somethings, we would be going into London for our birthdays and get pretty bored of some of the soulless, expensive bars that would exist, and, you know, very aware of the fact that we're in one of the greatest cities in the world with 3,500 pubs, and between those pubs, some of the most iconic sites that you can see, anywhere in the world, and tourists come from everywhere to see them. That was our excuse then to go out on a pub crawl.
And I've been through your top 10 pubs, Thomas Vosper. I've been to 4 out of 10 of them. I'm delighted to see that the old trip to Jerusalem and Nottingham, my home city, is there.
I think the beauty of a pub is that what makes it special is very personal to you.
Yes.
One of the questions I do get asked more than any other is, what's the best pub to go to? But of course, some of them are huge, grand banking halls, buildings that have been repurposed, some of those old little pubs where you've got a nice flat warm ale and a fire to sit next to.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Now to a truly shocking story. The Church of England clergy will be told to promote anti-racism in their sermons in order for senior figures to unlock thousands of pounds in funding to promote diversity initiatives. 100 million quid has already been put aside as part of its commitment to create a fund for healing, repair and justice to address its so-called historic links to the enslavement of African peoples. But now, a further £730,000 will be specifically allocated to the Racial Justice Priority Project, used for education initiatives, including teaching about church buildings' links to the transatlantic slavery. Now, clergymen will be encouraged to speak and stand in solidarity on issues such as youth safety, migration and racial sin. Well, joining me now is Vicar of the Christ Church, New Malden, Stephen Kurt, and my panel as well are going to stay in the room with me. Stephen, a pleasure to have you back on the show.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
What do you think of these proposals?
Well, I want to be absolutely clear, and I'm sure we all agree on this, racism is an appalling evil.
Absolutely.
It is the absolute opposite of Christianity. I want to be 100% clear about that. My concern is that when this sort of initiative takes place, it can give the impression very, very strongly that anyone who's got concerns about immigration, uncontrolled immigration, is a racist. And that's my concern. I think that quite often could be the message that is conveyed. So people who have legitimate concerns, including people around this table, about immigration policy, can then be implicitly labelled a racist because of those issues. And my worry about that is both it's wrong, but also it just encourages people to feel that they aren't listened to. And I think that encourages the far right. It encourages the very opposite of what it's trying to do. So that's my concern. Utterly abhor racism, but we all do, I hope, around this time. I'm sure we do. I know we do. But the problem is that when that label is either thrown around or it's implied, then it has a hugely damaging effect. So that would be my concern.
Yeah, many people have been writing to me about this story across the day today, because I've actually been writing about it online as well. A lot of people are saying, why can't the Church of England just get back to what it's designed to do, which is to preach the Lord's word?
Yeah, but I do. I mean, this is where I'd want to say, no, the gospel, the message of Jesus Christ, is about everyone being welcome, regardless of their race, regardless of their background. So I want to affirm anti-racism with all my might, but I want to say that let's make absolutely clear what is racism and what's not.
Yes.
So I'm happy to preach about racism whenever people want me to, but included within that will be what a racist attitude is and what a racist attitude isn't. And it's really important that people don't feel, if they raise legitimate concerns, that they wear this label racist. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
That is and I think what we can do, if we approach these issues in the right way, we can take so much of the heat out of them by making people not feel they're labelled for raising legitimate issues. If people are listened to, then it becomes a completely different discussion.
Absolutely. Adam?
I'm not religious, but I respect everyone's right to practice and believe whatever they want. And I respect you as a man. And I thank you for what you said backstage. You said... you basically said my immigration stances are not racist. And I thank you for saying that, because I get labelled by so many people.
Yeah, I've heard it plenty of times.
As that. You will never find any racism on my social media or on anything that I say on here. I'm just against uncontrolled mass migration.
OK, listen, I've got to bring you some breaking news just to interrupt this segment here. Lord Peter Mandelson has resigned from his membership of the Labour Party as he does not wish to cause further embarrassment over his links to Jeffrey Epstein.
I'm sure he'll manage.
In a statement, we'll come to this in the panel in just a second. In a statement given to the Press Association, he said he'd written this evening to the General Secretary of the Labour Party, Holly Ridley. In his letter, he said, I have been further linked this weekend to the understandable furore surrounding Jeffrey Epstein, and I feel regretful and sorry about this. Allegations which I believe to be false, that he made financial payments to me 20 years ago and of which I have no record or recollection, need investigating by me. While doing this, I do not wish to cause further embarrassment to the Labour Party, and I'm therefore stepping down from membership of the party. I want to take this opportunity to repeat my apology to the women and girls whose voices should have been heard long before now. I have dedicated my life to the values and success of the Labour Party, and in taking my decision, I believe I'm acting in its best interests. Should we just get some thoughts, if you don't mind? Apologies, Steve. I know you've come to talk about a shocking story that hopefully we've given some justice here. Paul, I'll start with you because you are, of course, a former SPAD of the Labour Party. Why did Keir Starmer just not take the whip off him all this time ago?
I mean, I've known Peter Mandelson since the 80s. He's been around in the political scene, certainly in the Labour Party, for a long time. So this will be a great blow to him personally to have to leave the party to which he's donated so much time. But, you know, good. He's done the right thing, I have to say. He is an embarrassment. He's apologised to the women and the girls, but I'm not sure it's gone far enough. And I think resigning from the Labour Party membership is the first step of many. I think we have to look at his membership of the House of Lords.
Rip him.
And I think we have to look at whether or not he should be allowed to carry on as a peer at all, whether a Labour peer or whatever. And it's very hard to get people out of the House of Lords, by the way. You know, he hasn't been convicted of a crime, otherwise he'd be out. But if once you're in the House of Lords, the best route he can take now, I would say, is to resign himself as a peer of the realm and remove himself from the House of Lords.
Just briefly, why hasn't Keir Starmer resigned, taken the whip off of him?
Well, he doesn't need to. He's just been taken out of the Labour Party himself.
And I suspect been made US ambassador.
And I suspect that was under pressure from Number 10 tonight to do that.
Well, it's been a long time coming. Stephen Kirk, while you're here, would you mind commenting on this? I appreciate it's not really your wheelhouse.
No,
but
I feel very strongly about it. I think that these public figures, it just looks absolutely terrible, and I'm sure it is absolutely terrible. When you see those photographs, a picture tells 1,000 words, and these photographs of both Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and of Peter Mandelson, they show so much about this appalling attitude towards the vulnerable, this utter indifference. And it's scandalous in the case of Mandelson, who is a Labour politician who should care about those who are most vulnerable. And I'm sure in many ways he does in his political ideology. But these people are not just expendable. All these victims of Jeffrey Epstein, they need to have... The way of placing the value upon them is for people like Mandelson to just completely let go of every bit of power and influence and prestige that he still has and be humble and show his sort of repentance.
But he's resigned because of the money. It's nothing to do with women and girls, let's be absolutely clear. He took money off Epstein, which he's saying now he didn't know anything about.
When he's partially dressed in those settings.
And his husband took money as well. Yeah. And it was while he was a minister. Well, yes. So that's why he's had to go now.
At a time when trust in politics is pretty low, people like Mandelson just absolutely destroy it. I mean, he was a disaster waiting to happen. Starmer should never have made him US ambassador. And the first moment that there was a sniff of problem, he should have got rid of him.
Well, he did. He sacked him. He sacked him.
Instead, he went to the Commons, Paul, and he said he had full confidence.
And then when he knew the full facts, as soon as he knew full facts, he was out.
That was an absolute misjudgment from Starmer, and it's typical of a man who should not be our Prime Minister.
If I found out one of my friends or colleagues was a paedophile, a convicted paedophile, I wouldn't speak to you. You'd have to get me out of the room with you because I wouldn't be able to control how I reacted. These people are the scum of the earth. And for him to still be a lord,
He's not a convicted paedophile. That's
No,
not what
he
you're
was
saying.
friends with a convicted
Okay, just to be
paedophile.
super clear.
And continued a friendship.
For your sake, I'm saying be super
and
clear.
continued his friendship with a convicted paedophile. For me, that makes Lord Mandelson a disgusting human being, and I think he needs to be stripped of his lordship. And it makes me wonder, is there more about to be dropped from these files? Maybe, you know?
Yeah, well, there was the front page of the Daily Mirror today said more to come, and who knows?
The weakness of Keir Starmer once again not to have gone.
He's gone. He's gone. What about Andrew though? Because now he has. I think all eyes.
This isn't about
I think
Andrew.
that's even more serious.
I'll
tell you why, Alex.
Paul,
Andrew is in line to the throne.
He's
in line to the throne.
Let's be clear about
Peter
something.
Mandelson is not in line to the throne, but Andrew is.
Yeah, but
The king has taken more complex action against someone who was in line to the throne and still is. I appreciate
in line
that,
to the throne.
but has done very complex things to get rid of his titles, to take him out of the royal family, more so than the Prime Minister's done to get rid of Peter Mandelson.
He is still in line to the throne.
Yes,
So hang on, you're not answering my question.
actually-
Why has Keir Starmer not acted against one of his members of his party?
He sacked him as ambassador.
Well, he's still...
And now he's out of the Labour Party after
Still had
50
the
years.
Labour whip for all this time
He's gone
in
now,
between.
isn't he? Now he's gone, as we found out 10 minutes ago.
Political influence, doesn't he? As a lord, he has political influence.
He doesn't attend the House of Lords.
But he's within the political system.
matter.
He shouldn't be.
He doesn't attend the Lords. He's on a leave of absence.
You're going to see the full extent to which Trump is actually implicated by all of
Sure,
this.
he's up to his eyes doing it, absolutely.
I think an awful lot of people are up to their
Everyone
eyes.
has to
I
be
don't
investigated.
excuse Andrew Mountbatten Windsor one iota, the same as I don't excuse Mandelson, but they're not the only two.
No.
If there's evidence, they need to
Stephen,
be prosecuted, and that's what people on the right are consistent with. If there is evidence of Trump, I haven't seen evidence, I've seen hearsay on emails. If there's evidence, he should be prosecuted, along with everyone else.
Absolutely.
Stephen, how do you feel about the situation in general?
What, the Epstein situation?
Epstein files, the latest drop of them.
What I hope will happen is a bit like Watergate, where there's no one who is so powerful that they can't be called to account. What I really hope we can get to is a stage where, you know, money and influence doesn't mean that there are some people who never see justice because they just, you know, are well connected, you know. And this is such an important thing for our societies, just to show that no one is actually beyond the law.
Indeed.
And we must never forget that people's lives have been wrecked.
Absolutely right.
It's appalling, be horrific.
Well said.
Absolutely right. Well, listen, coming up shortly... Actually, let me just quickly read you a recap of this breaking news earlier on, in case you haven't had a chance to digest it entirely just yet. I'll just bring this up for you in just a second. But, of course, the breaking news tonight is that Lord Mandelson has resigned from the Labour Party. In bank statements released by the US Department of Justice yesterday suggest that Jeffrey Epstein made a $75,000 of £1,000 of payments to accounts linked to Lord Mandelson. Between 2003 and 2004, Epstein appears to have sent 3 separate $25,000 payments referencing Lord Mandelson. And, of course, today, Peter Mandelson has resigned from the Labour Party. Questions now being asked, of course, as to why Keir Starmer didn't take the whip off of him. That's what we've just been discussing. All right, coming up, a shocking story breaking in tomorrow's Telegraph. The British countryside will be made into a less white environment under nationwide diversity plans. You might think it's crazy, but this is real. I'll bring that to you next.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. Well, we have a south-shifted jet stream that's just bringing areas of low pressure across Europe, so it is unsettled. We've got spells of rain, more so across Portugal and into Spain and into France. Across the Mediterranean, we are also seeing some heavy spells of rain and thunderstorms, but also some strong winds, so expect some rough seas here. Otherwise, there's going to be further showers on the cars. There will be some brightness in between, though.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office.
A new week is upon us, but the weather is very much remaining in the same theme we've seen during this last one. It's rather unsettled. We've got rain at present across the southeast and in the northeast. It could be heavy at times in places. Further towards the west for parts of southwest England, Wales, but particularly Northern Ireland, skies will be clearing overnight, so we'll see some frost developing, freezing fog, but also some icy stretches around first thing on Monday morning. But you have the clouds still lingering in the east. Temperatures will be a shade higher as you step out first thing tomorrow morning. It is, though, going to be a reasonably grey, dull, drab day for many of us, with some pretty strong winds out towards the Northern Isles, continuing to see some gale strength gusts through here. It's generally western regions that might see a few more in the way of those limited, brighter, perhaps sunnier spells at times, but really is cloud is going to be the main theme right throughout the day, and that will continue to bring some patchy outbreaks of rain and drizzle in various locations. There is this band of longer rain that will just push its way into the Isles of Scilly and eventually towards parts of Cornwall as we head into the afternoon period. The breeze beginning to strengthen through here as well. Feeling quite cool underneath all the clouds, temperatures generally peaking at around 6 to 9 degrees Celsius. We'll have this focus on this rain as it continues to push inland into Monday evening, and then there's a rain warning in force for this as it does arrive associated with this area of low pressure. Meanwhile, up towards the north, we're going to be pulling in some slightly colder air from the continent into Tuesday, and so that will allow for snow to start falling to as low as 300 metres or so over some of the Scottish mountains, perhaps to lower levels for the likes of Orkney and Shetland as well. We could see a little bit of hill snow for the likes of Wales as that band of rain continues its journey northwards, so there is going to be some further wet conditions around at times for many of us as we head throughout this forthcoming week.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've got tomorrow's front pages here. Shall we have a look at them? Of course, well, before we do that, actually, let's just remind you of the breaking news. Lord Peter Mandelson has now resigned his membership of the Labour Party as he does not wish to cause further embarrassment over his links to Jeffrey Epstein. In a statement given to the Press Association, he said he'd written to the General Secretary of the Labour Party this evening, Holly Ridley. In his letter, he said, "I have been further linked this weekend to the understandable furore surrounding Jeffrey Epstein, and I feel regretful and sorry about this. Allegations which I believe to be false, that he made financial payments to me 20 years ago, and of which I have no record or recollection, need investigating by me. While doing this, I do not wish to cause further embarrassment to the Labour Party, and I'm therefore stepping down from membership of the party. I want to take this opportunity to repeat my apology to the women and girls whose voices should have been long heard before now. I have dedicated my life to the values and successes of the Labour Party, and in taking my decision, I believe I'm acting in its best interest." Lord Mandelson denies all wrongdoing with regards to the Epstein files, and being named or pictured in the files is not an indication of wrongdoing. All right, let's go to those front pages even, shall we? The Telegraph's leading with this. Mandelson faces order for Epstein evidence and countryside to become less white in rural diversity drive. The Guardian. Mandelson under fire as files appear to show Epstein sent him $75,000. The iPaper. Bring justice for Epstein victims, Andrew and Mandelson told. The Metro. Embarrassment of riches for old pals of Epstein. The Daily Express. Prime Minister wants to rewind freedom Brexit gave us. All right. Well, look, let's talk a little bit about Peter Mandelson, given the breaking news and the front pages. It seems to me, Adam, that he has obviously got wind of these front pages and pulled the trigger pretty much before they've broken this evening.
For me, this is a massive embarrassment for Labour. I have to ask why Labour have people with such rumours around them. Obviously, there is no proof of such, of wrongdoing, but it has been rumoured that Mandelson has been close with Epstein for many years, and yet Keir Starmer made him the US ambassador. That is just shocking. It makes me wonder what Mandelson has over Starmer.
Yeah.
It really does, because he should never have been ambassador. He should he should never be a lord still. Again, in my opinion, there's more to come out. And all eyes on Mandelson, because this is shocking for Labour and Mandelson.
Yeah, Paul, obviously, Mandelson has, said that he has done nothing wrong and that Keir Starmer is no way linked to this. Should the Prime Minister have acted? There's been months of allegations here on the front pages, and the photos themselves do a lot of damage to the Labour Party, the party of government of this country, the party, of course, that put Mandelson as ambassador to the United States, which will, inevitably not look good for us. Do you think the Prime Minister's acted too late?
I mean, it does...
Or not acted at all?
It does do damage to the Labour Party, undoubtedly. I mean, all three of us are sitting here with front pages of the Daily Telegraph with Peter Mandelson in his underpants with an undisclosed female
not a pretty sight, Paul.
in a dressing gown, and it's just horrific, frankly, and it is embarrassing. So I'm glad that he has resigned from the Labour Party. To your point about Keir Starmer's actions or inactions, I mean, I would say at each stage where new information has come to light, he has taken decisive action. Firstly, to sack him as ambassador, and now with this, to accept his resignation from the party. And don't forget, he's not a member of the House of Lords. He's taken a leave of absence in order to be the ambassador. He never came back to the Lords afterwards. Yeah. So he can be stripped of his peerage, but he's not taking any part in public life at all, nor does he get any public money for being in the House of Lords because he doesn't turn up.
Anna?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just damage to the Labour Party. This is damage to Sir Keir Starmer, because he knew what a liability Mandelson was. He'd been sacked by two previous Labour Prime Ministers. Everybody thought it was a mistake for him to even give him the position of US ambassador.
He only got sacked by one. He got sacked twice by the same one.
OK, sacked twice by a Prime Minister, and he's brought back into such a prominent position. Lo and behold, more has come out, and now Keir Starmer looks, in my opinion, looks an absolute idiot for having appointed him. And telling the Commons that he had full confidence in him after the first lot of disclosures. Second mistake. The third thing is that I think that we are slightly... I mean, this is a disgusting picture of Mandelson. I mean, I mean, it is embarrassing. I don't think there can be any further embarrassment unless there's more to come out about Mandelson, which is quite concerning. But the biggest point here is, what about all the women and girls who were ruthlessly exploited by Epstein? And I hope that we don't lose sight of that in looking at these horrible pictures of Lord Mandelson.
Yeah, well, look, we'll come back to this story throughout the evening tonight, because it is on the front pages of many national newspapers, so we will talk more about it throughout the evening. But there is another story here that I was talking to you guys about earlier in the show. The countryside's become less white in rural diversity drive. It is totally bonkers, right? So basically, the British countryside, I'll read this to you here, the British countryside will be made into a less white environment under nationwide diversity plans. Officials in rural areas, including the Chilterns and the Cotswolds, have pledged to attract more minorities under plans drawn up by the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, DEFRA. What on earth is this? Paul, it's your government. What are they doing?
Well, I mean, one of my most favourite things in the world is walking in the South Downs. I live on the edge of the National Park, and I go over the Seven Sisters Hills, and the people walking in those hills are from all different backgrounds. You people coming out of Brighton, from London, different races, religions, people in hijabs and walking boots. I don't think there's a problem with diversity. And also the Chilterns. I love the Chilterns too. I just don't think this is necessarily something that the government needs to be putting top of its agenda right now.
No, I think the whole country is going to agree with you. It doesn't need to be a part of the agenda at all. Look, we'll talk about it more in just a moment after the break, because I want to hear what Anna and Adam have to think about and have to say about this.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day.
bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Smith right now. Jordan, look at that smile. I bet that hasn't come off your face since yesterday. Many congratulations.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me, guys. Yeah, I've been smiling the whole time for the last 24 hours. It's just been
Obviously, I would imagine that winning the money is the greatest thing, but what was it like being out there? You're in Rod Laver, the main court there in Melbourne. You're playing the world's greatest players. What did it feel like?
Yeah, it was a dream come true. Obviously, as a kid, being a tennis player, coming from Sydney in Australia, just dreaming of being in a Grand Slam or anything like that. Just never could imagine that this happened, and I never would have thought it would be a one-point slam. Like, it's just an amazing concept, amazing idea, and yeah, it's just I just got to pinch myself, and hasn't really sunk in yet.
Now, here's Sinner. Here's the Yannick Sinner game. Now, How did this begin? So, did you actually win the rock paper scissors to have him serve first?
Yeah, that was my tactic. Yeah, I decided. Yeah, I did win the rock paper scissors, and yeah, I was just noticing that a lot of the top pros were quite nervous because they get one serve.
Yeah.
So they were sort of panicking, and they always chose to receive. And they sort of mentioned just sort of little words about just sort of not wanting to double fault. And I guess everyone might have thought that a pro would take it out. But yeah, I guess everyone has a chance. And it was amazing that, yeah, I just took it one point at a time. It was cliche, but I just enjoyed the moment. I sort of tried to look at my family and friends and sort of smile and wave. And yeah, as I said, I couldn't take the smile off my face. And I was in disbelief at the end.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
More front pages have just landed. Let's go to the Daily Mail first. Andrew in new Epstein legal threat. The Times, new Epstein victim. I was sent for sex with Andrew. The Daily Mirror. Epstein flew me to Andrew at Royal Lodge. Second woman's sex claim. And The Sun leading with this. Lewis dating Kim Kardashian. OK, so shall we talk about this story in the Telegraph a little bit more? Because this was quite damning stuff from DEFRA, a government department, by the way. Adam, you've had a little read. What have you found?
Look, this won't be people of colour that are pushing for this. This will be white lefties and white liberals wanting to virtual signal and tick boxes and show everyone what great people they are. No one is stopping people of colour from going to the countryside. There is no limit to who can go and visit certain places in this country. It's utter nonsense. I just read this bit, though.
Yeah.
The schemes want to attract more Muslims to the area. Well, you can be white, black or brown and be Muslim. So, look, that's nonsense anyway. But, look, this is laughable. And I cannot believe we live in a country where this sort of thing can be promoted.
Anna, it's a little bit racist in some respects, is it not, just to target minority people and say, actually, why don't we just want more people in the countryside? Surely this is against the whole ethos of the government.
Yeah, well, that's right, Alex. But what I think is really, really bad is we have record unemployment at the moment in this country. We have small businesses on their knees. We have record mental health in young people because opportunities for young people to get their first job are declining.
Yeah.
We've talked about knife crime in London and the horrific murder that took place this week. Those are the things that the government should be working night and day to solve. And this is completely the wrong priorities. And what's worse is our money is being spent on printing and apparently employing people to come up with this rubbish.
Yeah, Paul, is the countryside just too white for Labour? Just don't like the fact that it's too white? Is it a vote? Is it a vote? I think some people will say actually Labour need more voters of colour in those areas to change the votes.
Oh, what are you talking about?
I'm just saying what some people would say that, Paul.
Honestly.
Some people would.
Oh, behave yourself. The story, I mean, we're here reviewing the papers, aren't we? If we look at the actual story on the front page of the Telegraph, underneath the picture of Peter in his pants, there's no minister named in this story at all. No minister has put their name on this from DEFRA. Emma Reynolds is not named. It's officials, probably, as Adam suggests, thinking they're doing the right thing, but actually coming up with a nonsense. I'm pretty sure this will get pretty short.
We need to drain the swamp then, Paul, is that what you say?
Well,
Drain the swamp.
I'm just saying this is a bunch of officials probably DEFRA really going a bit too far.
We're an 84% white country. So people have got to stop going against that.
But white people have got to live somewhere.
We can't go against that. It is what it is.
All right. I wanted to... Sorry, guys, because, listen, we will talk about this more throughout the evening, but there's a clip that caught my eye this week. Let's play it, please.
Are we trying to blame everybody else? It's disgusting. They want to fine me, good. They want to ban me, good. Do it. Have a look at yourselves, every single goddamn one of you. It's absolutely disgusting. And whether I get another game or not, I don't really care anymore. I care about my team, I care about my captain, I care about my players. And I should be allowed to prepare professionally.
Absolutely legendary. Absolutely legendary. Football fans are here?
Yeah,
Adam?
I'm a Tottenham supporter for my sins.
Do you want to see a little bit more passion like that, Babs?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, we see that every week at Southend United.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Paul, what do you make of it?
That's speechless. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
I'd actually like to see the Prime Minister have a little bit more of that, if I'm being honest with you. Yeah.
You'd have to have a personality to see a speech like that. And Keir Starmer does not have a personality.
Well, you'd have to have a personality transplant, wouldn't you?
Right, listen, thank you all very much. We're going to be back with our breaking news, of course, about Peter Mandelson resigning the Labour Party membership and a boatload more to bring you. Stay tuned for Alex Armstrong tonight, late edition, but first, here's your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. A new week is upon us, but the weather is very much remaining in the same theme we've seen during this last one. It's rather unsettled. We've got rain at present across the southeast and in the northeast. It could be heavy at times in places. Further towards the west for parts of southwest England, Wales, but particularly Northern Ireland, skies will be clearing overnight, so we'll see some frost developing, freezing fog, but also some icy stretches around first thing on Monday morning. But you have the clouds still lingering in the east. Temperatures will be a shade higher as you step out first thing tomorrow morning. It is, though, going to be a reasonably grey, dull, drab day for many of us, with some pretty strong winds out towards the Northern Isles, continuing to see some gale strength gusts through here. It's generally western regions that might see a few more in the way of those limited, brighter, perhaps sunnier spells at times, but really is cloud is going to be the main theme right throughout the day, and that will continue to bring some patchy outbreaks of rain and drizzle in various locations. There is this band of longer rain that will just push its way into the Isles of Scilly and eventually towards parts of Cornwall as we head into the afternoon period. The breeze beginning to strengthen through here as well. Feeling quite cool underneath all the clouds, temperatures generally peaking at around 6 to 9 degrees Celsius. We'll have this focus on this rain as it continues to push inland into Monday evening, and then there's a rain warning in force for this as it does arrive associated with this area of low pressure. Meanwhile, up towards the north, we're going to be pulling in some slightly colder air from the continent into Tuesday, and so that will allow for snow to start falling to as low as 300 metres or so over some of the Scottish mountains, perhaps to lower levels for the likes of Orkney and Shetland as well. We could see a little bit of hill snow for the likes of Wales as that band of rain continues its journey northwards, so there is going to be some further wet conditions around at times for many of us as we head throughout this forthcoming week.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Breaking news this evening, Lord Peter Mandelson has resigned the Labour Party membership that he has held for many, many years. Of course, that is because the headlines today are absolutely covered with pictures of him in his pants and, of course, allegations about his connections to Epstein. Do you think the countryside's a bit too white? Because the Department for Environment and Food and Rural Affairs thinks that we should move more minorities there. And apparently on the front page of the Times here, migrants, there's riot fears that are happening in Crowborough. Apparently the government are very worried about it. See you shortly.
This year, the adventure of a lifetime could be on us. Courtesy of Riviera Travel, there's a terrific £10,000 holiday for two to be won. Choose from over 30 worldwide destinations like Thailand, South Africa, New Zealand or even Sri Lanka. We'll also boost your bank account with a fabulous £30,000 in tax-free cash.
For a chance to win,